discovery since Alaska's Prudhoe Bay. It's in the area of North and South Dakota and Montana. They have an oil field that has already been proven. They know it's there. They know exactly how much it's there. For instance, the Bakken oil reserve on our own soil is 8 times as much oil as Saudi Arabia, 18 times as much oil as Iraq,
wow.
21 times as much oil as Kuwait, 22 times as much oil as Iran, 500 times as much oil as Yemen, and it's on our own soil, and Congress will not allow it to be produced. And even though the proof of it has been given by the U.S. Geological Service in a memorandum that was given before Congress, it's in the congressional record, the congressmen know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is a reason why they will not allow that field of oil to be produced. And I was told this a number of years ago by the elite. And Jeff, you'll remember that in a lengthy program that you allowed me to have with you one time, I told the story of how the deal had been made with the OPEC oil-producing countries of the world, that if we bought oil from them, they in turn would turn around and buy our national debt by buying T-bills and securities that the Treasury of the United States of America issued, which in turn pays the interest on the national debt of our $12 trillion national debt plus. And the day that they stopped buying those T-bills and those securities, the American dollar would crash, which of course is already in the works to do that. And I have the date in which they intend to do it. I've given this on your program before, so we'll not go into that again. But every bit of this is a plan. All of it is according to a worked out, behind closed doors. I have been told it. By the way, the gentleman that Jeff mentioned a moment ago, he's 87 years of age. He is an elitist. He knows everything that goes on behind closed doors. I tried to call him before the program today. I actually wanted to ask him some questions in relation to what Jeff and I were going to talk about this evening. He's still in the hospital, and I was not able to talk to him in person. But this man said to me recently, he said, Chaplain Williams, I'm too old to care. Just go ahead and tell the world everything. This man has made it known very plainly that nothing happens by chance. Now, I do not use the word conspiracy. I don't like it. You never hear me talk about it because the media immediately takes it and puts the word theory on it. Sure. And a conspiracy is not always a theory, but they like to make you think that it's conspiracy theory. Yeah. So I don't use the word conspiracy at all. I put it this way. I know the people who are doing it. I lived with them for 3 years. I had the opportunity to analyze them. I have written 3 books attempting to explain their mindset and how they go about doing things. BP being the largest oil company in the world, part of the British Crown, and BP was attempting to do, or should I say mimic, what the Russians did in going into that strata of oil that they know is there. Now, there's 2 things that you need to keep in mind about that strata of oil way down in the heart of the earth. Number 1, they have proven without a doubt it is not a fossil fuel. You can take that and throw it out the window. They're going to have to rewrite all the textbooks. It is replenishing itself by some chemical process down there. The second item, there is no such creature as peak oil. That is only for the purpose of being able to take the price of oil where they want it to go. So both of those can be put out the window. Now, if BP had been able to contain this oil after they got it. Now, I remember back in the days when I was at Prudhoe Bay, one of the first things they would do after they drilled a well, they would first of all check the flow. Secondly, they would check the pressure. Have you noticed something about this oil out in the Gulf of Mexico? Have you noticed they have never, ever told you what the pressure of that well is?
True.
They've told you how much oil they think's coming out of it, 200,000 barrels a day. They've told you how far down it is, 30,000 feet. They've said that the rig was sitting on 5,000 foot of water. I am amazed when I look at the figures as they're giving them. Nobody ever tells the pressure of that well, Jeff.
No wellhead pressure. None. Nope.
No, the reason being is because it's so catastrophic. It's so above everything that they've ever come in contact with before, that all of their valves, and believe you me, there were containment valves, there was every method imaginable scientifically and technically in order to be able to contain that oil. It literally blew out all of their containment. It went past everything that they had ever anticipated in the way of pressure. That means that it's going to be that much more difficult to do anything to be able to stop it.
Agreed.
And in the meantime, oh my goodness, I remember what happened when the Valdez, Alaska, when just the one ship spilled the oil.
Yeah. Well, I've seen an oil spill too, and I know what you mean. This is not an oil spill, though, and even the use of the term is a disgrace by the media. It's an oil catastrophe. Back in just a couple minutes with Pastor Lindsey Williams. And we continue with Pastor Williams, taking a look at the latest on the oil catastrophe. And once again, there's rather nebulous news, as they call it out there. They're talking about the rescue effort now. They're not talking about what they're dealing with now. Top oil executives grilled over U.S. spill. Executives trade blame. I don't see any stories, at least on Google. It's not the best source, of course, but you want to see what the people are reading, and they're not reading about the nature of the dynamics of this absolute volcano of oil and gas that is gushing from the innards of the earth. This is not some field that they tap into on land. They were doing something that they shouldn't have been doing. There was no reason for it, as Pastor Williams has made very clear, abundantly clear. There was no reason to go down there looking for that kind of oil at that depth. None. We have more oil than we know what to do with. And by the way, the latest on Iraq is the Iraqi oil fields actually contain more than the Saudi oil fields. This was a secret that wasn't talked about much. I heard it before Saddam Hussein was first invaded by Bush 41, and not since. And now lately they've been talking about it. But there's a huge amount of oil in Iraq. Point being, the Bakken Reserve is in our own backyard. It's in our own United States. We don't need to go anywhere. We can control it all from land. And it can be done sensibly, intelligently. Now look what they've done. And I just don't see any constructive stories out there about how science proposes to end this without drilling a slant well to take the pressure off, which I don't believe is possible, frankly. I'm no oil geologist, but it just doesn't make sense. The pressure is so unprecedented that how is one well going to begin to drag that pressure down to the extent where they can go down and do something about this at a mile deep with robot submarines? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening quickly. I don't see it happening easily, and I'm not optimistic at this point.
Jeff, I feel such a moral obligation tonight in these last few minutes that we have to tell you exactly what this 87-year-old elitist said to me in our very latest conversation, because it fits perfectly into what has happened in the Gulf, because they will use this as a method of fulfilling what they want to do. This individual said to me in our latest conversation, he said, Chaplain, you will lose 30 to 50% of the value, the purchasing power of your money in the next 12 months. They already have it planned. It was planned behind closed doors. It was planned through inflation. It was planned through many other methods. Now, they will have even more of an opportunity to fulfill what they want to do. This is all done intentionally in order to cause you to lose the value of your currency. Let me try to explain. Jeff will remember that about 1 year and 3/4 ago, I came on his show, and I think many other shows around the country, and said that I'd just been told that the price of crude oil was going from $147 a barrel to $50 a barrel. And within 2 months' time, exactly as this gentleman had told me it was going to happen, it took place. I had been laughed at on radio talk shows all over America because they said, you're crazy, it can't happen. But it did. He even told me why they were doing it, in order to bring about some very bad financial conditions in the OPEC oil-producing countries of the world. Now this gentleman has said to me, Chaplain, you're going to lose 30 to 50% of the value of your currency. And then in our latest conversation, I said to him, I said, the price of crude oil is today $80 a barrel. And he laughed at me. And he said, no, it's shot, not